All right.
That other persons anticipated to participate are on the agenda. Our president can hear me. All speakers should identify themselves by name prior to speaking. This meeting of the HAB in open session is being conducted remotely and in a manner consistent with state law. Adequate public access does not require the inclusion of public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting may, depending on time, allow for public comment. In this meeting, the HAB is convening via Zoom as posted on the town's calendar. Members of the public that are not speaking are not required to identify themselves and have the option to attend anonymously, calling by phone as posted on the agenda. Please be advised that this meeting is being recorded. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording, including your video if you are turned on. If you do not feel comfortable sharing your video, you're not required to do so to participate. While anyone's welcome to make their own recording of this public meeting, we ask that you first let the chair know. All meeting materials provided to members of this body are available on the town's website as links that links this meeting's agenda. The meeting will follow the agenda unless I note otherwise. Welcome to members of the public. Finally, any votes taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote, and we'll now turn to the first item on the agenda, which is review and a motion to approve the minutes. I'm on a Zoom. I'll call you back. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Who moved? Pam moved.
Pam. Yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mike, yes. Any discussion? All those in favor? Pam?
Yes.
Bernard?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Jonathan?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, and the minutes are approved in record time, which takes us to our first substantive agenda item, which is a discussion presentation first from our guests from City Realty, who have a major project development proposed at 1280 to 1330 Boylston Street, Route 9 out in Chestnut Hill. We'll have their presentation first. I will follow with a presentation that talks about the HAB's role and our analysis and recommendation to date that we will have a full discussion of, and we will vote this evening only if HAB members are all expressing sufficient comfort with what you've heard and what's being recommended. If there is any discomfort with moving ahead with the vote, we have allowed, and the developer understands from our discussions with them, for a vote to happen at the HAB's meeting in the first week of January. So all of that said in a hurry, let's welcome our development team, Cliff Kensington from City Realty and Jennifer DePazzo Gilbert, City Realtor's legal representative for this project.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to both of you.
Thank you, Roger, and thank you and to members of the HAB. And also want to thank Ioana and Emily and Meredith and others that took the time to meet with us and review things, and to Roger and others, Michael. It's really, really important to go over where we are and to really see the methodology that was being proposed, and we really dug into it pretty deeply. We have been working with Meredith and the Community Advisory Group and also the Planning Department for about 1.5 years now on this proposal. The hope is to get a package together for town meeting consideration in May of 2026, and Meredith has been working hard to move all of the pieces of that puzzle forward so it all comes together, and this is one of the major pieces. With me tonight is Cliff Kensington from City Realty, and he is going to do, he has a presentation to make about the overall project and program. And then I know that Roger would take it from there. So we're happy to answer any questions. Please interrupt as Cliff goes through these slides. So Cliff, if you can share screen and take it away.
Sure thing. Let me get it going. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to come in and speak with you. As Roger and Jennifer said, I think, my presentation is first off going to kind of give a quick refresher and overview of where the project stands at the moment, as well as, some of the background of kind of the process that's led us to date. And then also as part of that, I wanted to kind of speak a little more specifically to some of the, kind of the factors and the variables has been kind of driving some of the decisions in the design process for this project, and why some of those have kind of led us here today with kind of this request for an alternative arrangement on certain aspects of the housing, and then we'll turn it over to Roger to kind of speak more specifically about what we've been discussing. So just as a reminder for everyone, this is an overview of the site as it stands right now. This is 4 buildings across 4 parcels between 1280 and 1330 Boylston Street. It is a mostly very suburban office park, populated mostly by surface and structured parking, with some office buildings and some small levels of retail. And here's some photos from different angles to show what the current site condition is. Here is kind of a rendering and an overview of the current state of the development proposal that we're proposing for the site. It is, just to kind of orient yourself, this view is from Boylston Street, standing approximately about where the intersection with Tully Street is, looking diagonally at the site. This would be the street to the right. And this proposal involves 3 different buildings, with building A being the largest, with a retail ground floor, a hotel at the lower levels that transitions to home ownership condominium residences above. The current proposal for them to be branded residences that can share in the hotel amenities. Building B is also features retail on the lower floors, 2 floors of retail in this current iteration, with medical office on the upper floors. Both of these buildings, building A and B, feature structured parking above the retail floors to create an activated ground floor, but still maintain the necessary parking and get as much of the parking out of the surface of the lot. And then the final one is building C, which is a more traditional multifamily residences with parking at grade and below grade. This is kind of a top-down view of the proposed site that also with a little more focus on what the landscape is. You can see that, again, building A with the hotel and the condos, building B with the retail and medical office, and building C with the multifamily. Building A and B are kind of buffered and shared this central plaza that will be ringed by the retail. The parking and the circulation will be focused on the perimeter of the site, circling around the outside of the buildings in kind of a one-way traffic condition, and really kind of focus on keep things pedestrian focused, with a more kind of pedestrian focused street along the back connecting to Heath Street. Currently does not have any vehicular access to Heath Street beyond emergency vehicles at the moment. And then, this is kind of more of a drop-down view. This is looking from Heath Street down through into the plaza. There's, a few steps, there's a few feet grade change between Heath Street and the site itself. So that is reflected in kind of this step down into this pedestrian focused street and then into this plaza. retail plaza as well. And then this is a very dense slide that I don't expect anyone to dig into too much, but I just wanted to kind of highlight that this project has gone through multiple iterations over the last year and a half, trying to juggle many different priorities, I would say, and sometimes conflicting. So part of the kind of process and our methodology for coming today was to try to kind of explain some of the goals that this project is trying to accomplish and why some of the decisions have been made. So when this project and this rezoning study as a whole for the neighborhood as a whole kicked off, the primary priority was stated as maximizing commercial development and improving placemaking. As we engaged with the community and shared iterations of the project, we went through multiple site walks with the community to listen to what they wanted to see. We met with individually and in groups with larger groups. So a lot of that feedback was taken in that's had some pretty significant shaping of the project. So some of those included, blocking all vehicular traffic to Heath Street and keeping everything internal to the site and connecting to Boylston Street. Making significant reductions of building height in the western and southern portions of the site. So the west is towards the Newton border, and south is Heath Street and the cemetery, as well as some of the smaller residential neighborhoods that are to the southwest. There were a regularly expressed desire for significant amounts of open space, tree canopy, pedestrian-focused connections, in a very inviting ground floor environment. Throughout the process, a very strong priority has been placed on the inclusion of a hotel on the site, both due to kind of a market demand, a lack of available supply, as well as the fiscal benefits it provides to the town. And also alongside that, a very strong desire to see a retail component with definitely an express interest and desire for smaller scale tenants and more quality of life retail and experiential retail versus kind of your more destination or big box retailer. So that was definitely the desired goals, and kind of on the other side of that are some of the challenges that we're working against that are primarily driven by the market. As we said, the town has always been looking for this to be a major commercial corridor and this development to feature a very significant commercial component. But there's been some challenges in recent years for commercial development. As many know, there is essentially no demand in the foreseeable future for traditional office or lab developments, particularly due to a huge amount of existing supply in the market. There is a strong retail demand in the area, but as many here know, there is also a number of existing competitors. It's particularly over on the Newton border with a lot of different retail types that it's not feasible to expect to be able to directly compete with a lot of existing retailers and malls and grocery stores and movie theaters that already have a presence in the area. There is a strong demand for hotel, but the scale and the amount of rooms that can be filled without a more reliable demand driver is a challenge and an open question. And then as well as, there is demand for medical office and a strong presence, but determining what the right amount of medical office is also more of a question. But alongside this, on the plus side, the residential market remains very strong. So, where does all this mean? Essentially that, designing a project that hits all the town's goals, fits within some of the dimensional consideration that is acceptable to the neighborhood, but still is a feasible buildable project, required us coming up with a little more alternative and creative strategies. So a key component of that, and the main reason why we're talking today, is this combination hotel condominium project in Building A. These these uses are very symbiotic and particularly crucial to this development program. They really kind of rely on one another because on the one hand, in order to have a larger scale hotel, we need demand drivers and to attract, and a large part of that is event space, full services, amenities, that will make this a destination and a more of a luxurious hotel. But in order to support that, we need some additional income beyond just what would come from the hotel guests. So that's where the condominium owners and their ability to support and share in that operation is crucial. And at the same time, differentiating the condominiums by having this hotel component is a crucial part of that market. And at the same time, kind of targeting larger average unit sizes and a more luxury condo that goes alongside of that is also important. You know, fewer larger units is an easier sell, particularly in this location. It does generate a much stronger fiscal impact that aligns with some of the town's goals. It also kind of is a more viable option towards downsizers who are a key part of the Brookline housing market, but might not be willing to go all the way down towards your more traditional sub 1,000 square foot units, particularly if they're coming from a larger existing single family. So it's a kind of a crucial component of kind of opening up that kind of housing circulation, and while still having not as much of an impact on town services. So while these are necessary parts of it, neither aspects of this would really be feasible or possible if we were having to conform with a strict reading of the inclusionary development policy. So because of that, and this explains a bit why that is. So one thing I want to set aside, we have Building C that is a traditional multifamily housing program that we are fully intending to comply with the 15% on-site and are not looking for any alternative arrangements for that housing type of multifamily. What we are looking for is, a different methodology for, call it non-traditional housing types. I think, this applies to both kind of these amenitized condos and if there were supportive and assisted living senior units. We don't currently have that in our development program, but it is something that there's been a desire expressed both from the community process. It's also, it will be part of the zoning. It's not in our current development program, but we did want to just kind of throw it out for discussion, even if it won't be on the exact, proposal now. And the reason why these can't be these don't fit within the traditional inclusionary is that there's just really no way to separate the supportive services or the amenities from the housing component itself, both from a valuation perspective and from an ongoing operation perspective. We have some internal estimates of what the value of those amenities will come as a premium over a traditional condo market, but it's really not going to be priced that way. They are going to just be one lump sum price, and different buyers will have different allocations of that price towards services versus the unit itself. But because they are getting a premium, that will mean that the loss on any on-site units would be substantially greater than your average unit. And then on an ongoing basis, because the overall project is relying on ongoing condominium fees to support those services, the affordable units would be kind of left to either be heavily subsidized by the other units or require ongoing subsidies from some other source in order to continue being there, and it just isn't a very feasible ongoing path. And so, we believe that a cash payment in lieu of on-site units would be able to achieve many multiples benefits beyond what would be accomplished by trying to feasibly fit them on site. So because of that, our proposal for this is to have this feature a mixture of both on-site and cash payment in lieu. So as I mentioned, the multifamily units would be located on site and comply completely with the requirements. But then we would look for these hotel condominium units, which cannot easily comply, to be able to do a cash payment in lieu. And this is the point where I'll turn over to Roger to detail some of the discussions we've had of how to, how we've been talking about what the right number for that cash payment should be.
Any questions on the proposal before Roger proceeds? Okay,
Hey.
Cliff, you probably take your screen down and Roger's gonna.
I do have one question for Cliff,
Sure.
Jennifer. Cliff, in the earlier plans, was the hotel condo building on the west end of the site, and you've moved it to the east end?
Yes, so that is another, as I mentioned, when kind of the neighborhood dimensional priorities, we've adjusted one of the things that originally there was some discussion to have kind of the height go, low in the east and higher in the west and kind of progress towards the municipal border, but then in recognition of some concerns from the neighbors, there was a request to say put the height as far east as you can and keep the height low on the western edge. So that's why there has essentially been a flip of where the height is located, where the hotel and condos buildings is located compared to previous versions of the project.
Yeah, I think that makes sense given the neighborhood concerns and
Yeah.
the way shadows are cast there. So good. Okay, thank you.
Emily, if you can please put up my slide presentation, and I'll try to remember to ask for next slide as we go through this. I had a very quick question though on the for City Realty. I noticed in kind of looking this over that there's never noticed this before in all the years of familiarity with the area. There's a curious jog in the boundary between Brookline and Newton, where the frontage, your frontage on Route 9 appears up to including the sidewalk to be have a third of it perhaps in Newton. And I'm just curious, does that cause Newton to have any involvement or engagement in this entire process?
So as of now, the boundary we share, so we have a obviously the western boundary is with Newton, and the north-south boundary with Newton kind of lies directly, right in the middle of Route 9. I think it does, where it particularly lies on the as it progresses along Route 9 can varies a little bit, but that means that actual boundary area is on Route 9, Mass DOT land, and kind of totally under their jurisdiction. So, that's really kind of the main kind of all party that will kind of supersede both when it comes to that frontage. We'll need site access permits. Right now we're designing to have basically require as minimal changes as possible to Route 9 because we can't rely. We're not trying not to rely on a certain level of cooperation from Mass DOT that may or may not be forthcoming. We're relocating some curb cuts. We're actually most likely going to end up removing one of the 3 curb cuts that is here and shift towards 2. So we're anticipating a pretty straightforward process on given that, but we obviously will still need much stronger engagement with Mass DOT once we have kind of we're progressed to the point of filing official permits.
Oh, that sounds good. So I'm just going to go through a series of slides for the benefit of HAB members in terms of current thoughts about complying with inclusionary zoning on this project. We spoke briefly at our most recent HAB meeting about having a couple of us join the what I believe is the working staff-led working group led by Meredith Mooney, who's I'm happy to see is joining us this evening, which has also included the active involvement of Michael Sandman, former select board. He's still chair of the working group, and Michael Rubenstein has also had quite a bit of active engagement, including with myself, and third and very important, Ken Lewis, a member of that board, and many HAB members know Ken is very skilled with real estate analysis and financial evaluation, who's helped us at the HAB a lot in the past, especially with the Waldo Durgan project. Ken and I worked and with Meredith and Michael Rubenstein closely. Ken developed a series of very detailed Excel spreadsheet analyses, which will be they are in the meeting packet and they're available to bring up if we need any particular deeper drill discussion than what you're going to see in my series of summary slides. But I did want to certainly publicly thank Ken for all of his dedication and thoughtfulness and his skills that he's brought to bear for helping us get where we are at the moment. So we go to the next slide, please.
I don't think your slides are showing right now.
Oh,
I see them.
I see him.
Pam.
Well, maybe that's my problem. Okay.
starting to sound like it. Anybody
Oh, I
else?
got it. I got it now. Sorry.
So mixed use, the town is, as Cliff mentioned, the town has a lot of interest for fiscal and other reasons in encouraging the commercial non-housing side of this, in particular the hotel. But at this stage of the iterations that you saw from Cliff, housing is over half of the project's nearly 900,000 total square feet of proposed development. Total of 266 units, almost 500,000 square feet, with 140 units in the multifamily rental housing building C, and what we'll spend a bit more time on this evening, the 126 units of here's a little new word, amenitized hotel condo units. Next slide, please. So quick highlight of what our zoning bylaw requires. 15% of units must be deed restricted as permanently affordable. And the deed restricted units must be not only 15% of the total project's dwelling units, but also the total project's total number of bedrooms. For the rentals, the income limits can't exceed 50% of AMI, and for the owner-occupied condo units, they're allowed to be at the 80% income range. Next slide, please. The actual wording is not an awful lot, but it's a critical basis in section 4.08. What we are charged with on large projects, where unlike on smaller projects where it's the developer's option to choose the cash in lieu, on larger projects currently over 10 units, the town must exercise this option and in the following way, and all the work that follows here is our best method and effort to arrive at numbers which conform, and a methodology that conforms with this simple paragraph here, that the applicant can make a cash payment to the town's trust, where the value of that payment is comparable to the difference between the value of the affordable units that would required under section 408 if they were provided on site, and the fair market value of such units free of any restricted conditions. In other words, their full value as market rate units, if in this case, if and when they're sold. And all of this is done on officially under an affordable housing plan from the applicant, City Realty, in a way that will show that the applicant's providing a greater affordable housing benefit to the town than would have been provided on site. In this case, to the extent that there's any question about that, the fact that there is a very significant cash payment being made here with the record of the town being able to leverage those funds 4 or 5 times or more into affordable units in other projects, or even 100% affordable projects, is one, I hope, persuasive way of looking at this as a benefit from a housing perspective for the town. Next slide, please. Versus the on-site. We are charged with determining, first of all, and this is the more straightforward of the two, that the developer, City Realty, will be providing 15% of the 140 rental units in Building C. In other words, 21 low income, 50% AMI units within the building. And the other general requirement there that would need to be formalized is they need to be evenly distributed physically throughout the building in terms of no undesirable locations and throughout the ground to the upper levels of the building. And then the amount of the cash payment that the developer will pay to the trust is what you're going to see in the remainder of these slides. Next slide, please. So a quick summary of the distribution of the units. No efficiencies, no 4 bedrooms. So all 1s, 2s, and 3s, most heavily weighted. The 2s and 3s being 4 times as many units each as the 1 bedroom units, consistent with, I think, Cliff's remark about the stronger market for larger units for former homeowner empty nesters. We've got here, you'll see 294 bedrooms. So we're going to be having to have the equivalent proposal would be equivalent on the bedroom count size as well, even though we're not going on site with the units. Next slide, please. So we're calculating the difference between what would be the net, in this case, sales proceeds between these 2 scenarios. If the units were on site, 85% sold at full market value and 15% sold at the deed restricted affordable. That's one figure that we're going to work through and arrive at. The total applicable sales price on that scenario. And scenario 2, where, and compared with the total gross proceeds if all of the units are sold at the full market value. We've done large projects before that have used this similar methodology, but this is different in one fundamental way, and that's, for example, the Waldo Durgan and the Newbury Well Tower. Very large negotiated inclusionary zoning outcomes were both rental, and they involved a comparison to get these 2 values of future rental cash flows discounted to the present. With condo sales, it's just a little simpler because we're trying to get at what the condos would sell at and the difference. Next slide, please. So the series of assumptions that we went through and Ken did in considerably greater detail in his spreadsheets were first to arrive at, on the affordable side of this calculation, I call it reverse underwriting. We find out what the borrower can afford to pay out of 30% of his income, and you all are familiar with that criterion for affordability. And in an ownership situation, what would his their total monthly payment as a condo owner be at 30% of their income, including the mortgage payment, principal and interest, the property taxes, the property insurance, and also in this case, because there's a very low down payment assumed, only 5%, there would be mortgage default insurance, FHA or PMI, and also the assumption as to the condo fees. So we worked all of this through, beginning with the mix of the unit sizes and what borrower incomes at different household sizes based on the HUD published incomes for different household sizes, matching it up with this project, and then in effect reverse underwriting the rest to determine how much they would be able to pay for the deed restricted units if they were on site. Next slide, please. Here we've got the breakdown showing the first calculation if the units were on site and what they would generate in terms of sales proceeds. So we did arrive through the collective market analysis, market knowledge of the folks that were involved with current achievable sales prices per square foot of market rate units, and arrived at the figure of 1,150 per square foot. Just a quick note. We had I believe a total of 4 meetings on this with the working committee and Mike Jacobs and myself from the HAB. 2 of them were internal with the staff and the group, and 2 of them were with City Realty folks. But in any event, that's that 1,150 per square foot is driving a lot of the market side of this. So it's an important number for market rate condos. And the affordables, the 19 units, if they were on site, the 15% of the total, the average price that was worked up. And this was based upon the sequence that you saw in the previous slide, what those units could be sold at, and then dividing that by the assumed square footage of the affordable units in the project. Quick pause on that. The bylaw was amended many years ago so that if the developer were putting affordable units on site, they had to be indistinguishable from the outside, but inside they were allowed to have square footages up to a certain affordable unit standard by bedroom count. So we used that number of square footage, which is far less than what City Realty is planning for the market rate units, and now they would be 100% units, and all of that flowed through the numbers. But for this purpose, the total square footage of the 19 units, and you can see in the right column, the sales proceeds were 8.3 million on the market, on the affordables, and 270 to almost 273 million on the market rates, for a total of 281 gross sales for the project, for the condo units, with the affordables mixed into that. And the cost of sales is a blended number with basically a 6% brokerage fee on the market rate units, but a lower percentage based upon the costs of working up and running and administering the we all know the housing affordable lottery. So the first half of this calculation, getting where we're going, came out at a little over $265 million. So that's going to be the lower of the 2 numbers we're going to look at when we're trying to calculate the difference that the bylaw requires us to do. Next slide, please. Second is what if the developer is relieved of the cost of putting the 19 affordable units on site and can do all of his units at the full size and the full average price per square foot of $1,150, and you can see the affordables here are zeroed out. And simpler calculation, the total unit proceeds 293, almost 294 million, with the cost of sales netting this out to 276 million. And therefore, the difference between what you saw on the previous page and on this page, the detailed calculation actually came out to 10.93 million. And so you're looking at here a number that's rounded just for presentation purposes, make the slides easier to read with bigger numbers. Next slide, please. So that is the way we, the method we used and the numbers that fed through. These are all consistent with Ken Lewis's much more detailed slides, which you do have in your meeting package. The next steps, of course, the immediate next step is we're going to discuss this thoroughly after this slide. We would, at the HAB level, review and approve, first of all, the rental side, the developer's plan for doing the on-site affordables in Building C, and then we would review and tentatively need to approve. An approval means recommend to the Zoning Board of Appeals. It doesn't mean we have approval authority, final authority. The payment, the nearly $11 million payment to the Housing Trust in lieu of the units on site. The next step would be a memorandum of agreement with detailed terms that would include the schedule of payments. Of course, they're spread out. If you'll envision the way these payments are made, unlike a rental project where everything is a lump sum, these obligations are generated 126 times, what would be for each individual closing of the condo units. The average payment would be just short of $87,000 a unit times 126 units, and there's where we get the $10.93 million. Well, I mentioned that this will all go to the ZBA, and apart from that, the process will also entail seeking town meeting's approval at the annual 2026 meeting of a zoning overlay warrant article, which will require a 2/3 vote, and the project memorandum of agreement, and a tax certainty agreement, which has more to do with assuring that the commercial fiscal benefits will accrue to the town, and effectively none of that side would be sold to a nonprofit, for example. Presumably, if the HAB likes what they see at the end of the day on this, whether it's now or a month from now, we might be have a constructive role to play in advocating for this, what this project will bring to the town on the affordable housing side of the ledger. I think that's the last slide, right? Emily?
Yes. last
Yeah.
slide.
So maybe we can bring back our screen and open this up to questions, and for both myself, for Mike, and Mike.
Roger, one clarification.
Yes.
I think we agreed at the end of the meeting to round up from 10.9 to $11 million.
Well, let's cover that right now. I think that I wasn't sure at the time, but whether that was just for talking and summary, or whether they were actually giving us another what was it, 10.9, almost $100,000, just to be generous. So Cliff, you're smiling.
I was hoping to just at least confirm that I wouldn't be running afoul if for the purposes of brevity we said 11 million or nearly 11 million in kind of public commentary, but if that's going to be a sticking point, I assume that could be one last final negotiation point. But I was intending to say, just in commentary and slide purposes.
Mike, I was scratching my head when we had that meeting, and I did scratch my head after the meeting enough to call Jennifer back and say, "Were you really giving us another 100,000, or what was that?" So anyway, Steve.
So thanks, Roger. First of all, thanks for all the work that you and Mike and Ken Lewis did. I know there's even more sort of calculations behind that. And so just to clarify, so the number that you've arrived at, that is something that the City Realty team agrees with, that, in terms of the way that it is based on the inclusionary zoning portions of our bylaw, right? So whether it's 10.9 plus or 11, that's another matter. But one question I have is that 10.9 million works out to be almost exactly 4%, as it happens, of the sale price, the estimated sale price, using, some of the biggest assumptions are the sale price per unit of the condominium, the market rate condominiums at 1150. If the sales turn out to be dramatically higher, I mean, this also may depend on how soon this project goes into construction and other things. If the sales prices turn out to be higher or lower, is this number 10.9, whatever, is this fixed, or do we end up saying these contributions the sale of each unit will be 4% of the sale price of each unit.
We had extensive discussions about that. I first raised that with Ken before bringing it up with Cliff and Jennifer when at our next meeting. And there seemed to be some possible logic and mutual benefit to have a range on the 10.93 million, depending upon how market conditions unfolded. And we've been around long enough to know they can unfold dramatically in the downside as well as on the upside. Either have an unlimited, like it's what's the kind, put and call almost, where you could the upside would be higher and everybody would benefit, and the downside would be lower, either with or without limits. We had some discussion about that. The town, from the way we were presenting it, was not presented as a requirement. It was an open-ended question, and and Cliff and Jennifer, you may want to comment on how your thoughts were about that, which I ended up not disagreeing with.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
so-
that
Oh.
Cliff had some concerns about financing.
Yeah, so
If you
yeah, I can wait. So there's really kind of there's a multiple reasons why, you know, our real pretty strong preference would be to have it be fixed. One is that, and we kind of, just to kind of circle back around, one of the things we were attempting to do with this exercise was separate out the value of the kind of the associated services from the value for the purposes of calculating what this differential would be. So this kind of 1150 number was meant to be the value of a, non-amenitized condo. So in reality, the reason we're looking for this is to allow us the kind of the flexibility to, sell these units with the amenities, but not have to necessarily price out them individually and create this allocation that's very difficult to do. So in that respect, like, the actual sales prices will be higher than 1150, but because it's including other things besides the unit itself. So that's why kind of just picking a percentage and applying it later on is going to be tough to untangle those kind of variables. And then on the other side, the value to us of having a fixed number is just that,
It's
there's
fixed.
already it's fixed. There's already going to be a lot of, I joke, I've got a very long spreadsheet that's got a lot of numbers that have a lot of variabilities that need huge amounts of variability. And for when it comes to financing anytime I can get a number that's agreed upon, it just makes everything easier. If, as a joke, like, if we came in with a range of the price could be X to, a range from low to high, anyone looking at it is just going to plug in the worst case scenario and finance us based on that. And we're going to see like a real downside on our upfront and a lot of difficulty, because that's just how they're doing it. Versus if I can come with a fixed number, I think the value up front from a feasibility and financing is more than enough to justify the cases where, okay, maybe the sale prices go down, maybe they're down a little bit and we end up overpaying slightly, willing to give up some of that downside risk in exchange for certainty.
Well, I can see from what you're saying, the value of a fixed number, and also how hard it is to quantify those access to amenities that you would
Yeah.
provide, which, in the case of the Newbury, a similar situation, where we accepted a cash payment in lieu of on-site units, that, it was a different calculation because, as Roger pointed out, it was rental, not condo.
Yeah.
And I also recall that your initial proposal on this for the cash in lieu of on-site units was a bit less than what this calculation comes to. It didn't look too bad at the beginning, but this looks better thanks to going through these calculations. So
Yes, we've certainly seen a solid increase through
Yeah.
through our working sessions.
I
guess
see
my
Jonathan's
only-
hand raised. If I might just add one other observation about this particular aspect, and it hasn't been discussed in any group, but I think we had a provision in the Waldo Durgan that the MOU as a whole, there'll be some discussion, will have an outside date where if it's not become activated through construction starting and seeing that there's going to be a completion, the MOU itself will have a term to it where it would have an expiration date sometime outside, but not wildly beyond any reasonable expectations of when this project would move ahead. You know, who knows exactly how long, but certainly maybe 5 years, maybe longer. But that's something bigger than this particular subject. Jonathan?
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate the presentation you've made, Cliff, and even more the presentation and the work that Roger, you and your team, Michael and Ken and others have put into this. It's really quite an extraordinary piece of work, and I think it's, I apologize. From everything I can see from what you've presented here and what I understood of Ken Lewis's, deeper spreadsheet, really well done. So that's number one. Number two, and I have, I spent my career working in, as a lawyer for projects like this or large projects that deal with financing. And I appreciate Cliff's explanation of the need for certainty and the importance of that. So I'm persuaded by that makes sense. I initially had the same question, Steve, that you did, like, why not just, take a percentage at each condo sale and get an upside, but I really do appreciate the importance of certainty. I think the third thought I have is that this is a hugely important project for Brookline, and it's important because it's going to deliver 260 units of housing. It's going to deliver, 21 affordable units, in the rental portion. It's going to deliver at the high end of the number that I ever imagined we would get for a payment in lieu, based on the discussions in the past and what I've been hearing and following. So, and then equally important, I will say, is the benefit of the rest of the development and the roughly $5 million in net tax revenue, which is the number I have heard, and I believe is pretty close. Maybe Meredith or others can comment on that. To the town once it's built. And I think that that's, given all the discussion that's happening now, about the potential for an override, also hugely important. So I think it's a win-win, and I am anxious to do everything we can to speed it along. Because as my friend Michael Rubenstein pointed out to me, every month that we don't get this project completed and start getting that $5 million costs the town $400,000, right? When you take $5 million and divide it, by a year, that's $400,000 a month. So I'm anxious to do everything we can from the Habs point of view, both because of the housing it will deliver and the economic development it will deliver to speed this along. So I would be happy to vote on it tonight.
Well, so, I mean, a hotel is the single best land use from a real estate and town benefit perspective. It doesn't put any load on town services. And it provides not only property tax, but room occupancy tax is kind of a double whammy in terms of tax revenue to the town. So that's the part of the project that has the most overall benefit to the town, and seems like it's the most viable part of the project. I was going to ask Cliff, what's your sense of phasing? The office market, the other residential project, you say there's demand for residential, of course. What is your thinking on this large medical office building, phasing wise?
Yeah, so I think, given both kind of the current market realities and honestly, this kind of the general historic commercial realities, is there would always be looking to be at least some level of pre-leasing on the commercial office side before it could really, likely get out of the ground. So I think we've always seen building A with the hotel and condo as part of any first phase. So the question has been more kind of how many phases there is after that. I think, realistically, there's going to be at least two. I think, in an ideal world, we'd be kind of starting A and C. Also, given they were kind of placed on the opposite ends, so their construction wouldn't necessarily interfere with each other. And then while those are under construction, working to pre-lease as best as possible building B and get it to the point where it can get out of the ground, either, while construction is going on the first phase or, pretty immediately, once that construction is done. So that's, that's the goal. But yeah, certainly you don't see those buildings just kind of being built 100% on spec, particularly in today's market. So, we place some value on, the ability to keep them separate buildings. If you follow along, there were previous iterations of the project that had buildings more interconnected, or they shared the spaces a little more, that, had some advantages, but that was one of the downsides, is that they couldn't be phased. Here, I think the fact that they are separate buildings that could be portioned off, financed independently, more manageably, I think we definitely see phasing as a component, both, constructability wise and, financing.
There's one aspect of the of the project and the this payment major payment exercise that I think is probably worth sharing with a particular interest to HAB members. It's as you can see there, we're translating words into numbers, where there's no actual formula. One of the big variables that required some judgment, really. 80% AMI is a huge driver of everything that follows in a lot of this. But the realities of what many of you know, when we actually create 80% AMI affordability, qualified pools of applicants for a program at 80% AMI, it literally, in order to be able to do that, we have to qualify them at 70% to create what's called a marketing window. And we've done that for decades, and it's somewhere in between. The state actually published a template, which I know David Guzman and Emily are aware of, and Iwana, that actually uses 70 to do 80% AMI projects. So that would have changed our number substantially higher. But I think most HAB members will also remember several years ago when the MBTA communities in the Harvard Street corridor was the subject of concentrated attention. The goal there, again, wasn't just housing, it was ground floor retail, mixed use, commercial, and all the benefits that go with it. Admittedly, it didn't involve a hotel. And the HAB initiated a change in our inclusionary zoning, whereby if certain non-housing commercial criteria were met in a development proposal, and this was on the rental side, we would raise the allowable income limit from 50 in that case to 70. And so in this situation where the number is literally 80, we had a kind of a choice of, do we go with 70 and make this a much bigger demand, or 80, where we could already see it was going to be considerably higher than the number that was originally on the table of, I think, 8.5 million. And so our reasoning behind this, in terms of the discussions that we've had, it's not an issue at this point, but I think it's worth HAB knowing in particular, was with the principle of us wanting to encourage the housing resources as much as possible, where there's a mixed use project that has all these other benefits, not just retail, but in this case, hotel, as Jonathan mentioned. We thought that the wiser course here was to take the 80% and drive our 10.9 million result, literally, rather than using the 70. So that's one of several interesting variables and discussions that we've had leading up to this meeting. Pam.
Roger, yeah, I agree with everything that Jonathan said and Steve. So should we call a vote? I mean, unless anyone else.
Yes, yeah, if we could, Emily, could you bring I drafted a vote today, just in case, and very happy to do that. And would like to ask if someone other than Mike and I, showing to have support, might make the motion.
Sure.
Let's bring
I'll make the motion once
well, let's read the vote first.
Exactly.
Thank you.
And this is just a recommendation to the ZBA.
Yes.
It's not going through the select board.
Well, it will go to the select board in the sense that we will capture this language in the memorandum of agreement.
Yeah.
And that's the document that will go to your board, Bernard.
Okay. But this vote is just for a recommendation to ZBA. I'm asking that because I don't usually vote on matters that are immediately coming before the select board.
Yeah, the pathway on this, my understanding is the pathway of the authority on this goes from us through the planning board, but officially, the ZBA will look for this recommendation when they approve the zoning and whatever else they have to do. So would you like me to read this? I saw most
No,
people haven't seen this before.
I mean, I can just read it online.
Okay.
Well, the type is very small.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, actually, no, I can read it unless someone else needs to have it read.
I just read it.
Yeah, if anybody wants it read, I will read it. I see that Sean O'Neill joined us partway through the meeting, and I don't think she can see it. But Sean, you let us know if you want me to read it. I'll be happy to do it.
Can I just ask one thing? So maybe this is me being too like nudgy, but in oh, there are two A's there. There's a typo. The amount, it says
Oh, I
amount,
didn't, yeah, no,
Yeah.
you're right, you're right.
amount in total to
Yeah.
10.93 million. I just want to make sure that, having been involved in a condo deal where the market's really crashed, I just want to make sure that this can't be renegotiated.
I don't
So
think there's
I think the only time, Roger, is like you mentioned, if we get language back in the MOA that puts a time limit on this, 5 or 7 years preferably, then we would have to come back. But assuming that the project moves forward on a reasonable schedule, that's right. Because we would already have the special permit in hand with this condition in there. And to modify it, we would have to go back to the HAB. And the HAB obviously could hold their ground on that.
So there's a couple of little typos in this, but I did draft this today. So actually Jennifer and Cliff haven't seen the wording of this. I think it faithfully tracks with what we've talked about, but I want to make sure that I haven't missed anything on this either in the
Looks to me like what we've been discussing.
Maybe I'm missing something here, but 1A, it talks about an amount to 15% of the total rental housing units. And then 1B says 15% of the total number of bedrooms.
It's
Okay.
both.
Both.
They both have to be both 15% of the units.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. And again, there's a typo in A as well there. I see amount to B. The word B needs to be in there.
Mhm.
Yeah, the only other thing I was just gonna call out that I know was a back and forth, but I think on here that wasn't on the one of the prior slides was just like the payment being the exact amount of the payment out of closing being tied to the percentage beneficial interests, which I think just want to, like we talked about to agree. I think it's a very fair and a nice, easy, already going to be done and already going to be done on a timeline that's viable for everyone. So it's a nice, I think it lines up really well, but I just wanted to mention it just in case that wasn't public.
Yeah, no, and we hadn't had that level of detail in terms of the discussion. That's more a question of the detail of the execution. I know Jennifer and I talked about it briefly, and it's got the advantage of being not only no uncertainty to it, but it's very early, determined very early in the stage of your development when you create your declaration and governing documents.
Yes, absolutely.
I do have a question, which is, are we comfortable that the buildings, shapes, sizes, bulk are not moving around anymore, and that it's the number of units in the rental building is going to be the 140 that is currently projected, and it's not going to be 145 or 135 or something like that? And does this language account for that? I mean, 15%, in that case, 15% is 15%, right? So if it's more or less, it needs to be 15% rather than these specific numbers, right?
That's our understanding.
Yeah.
If
Also,
if it changed in a way that changed the, the fundamentals going on here and the basic, numbers and commitments, then there would be some revisiting, I would think.
We might have to amend this.
Yeah.
I'm just, anyhow, I think I guess it's okay.
Alex?
there's also, it looks like a typo, the on-site rental, isn't that in building C, the most westerly? It's currently building A, it says?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, that's a good.
That's right,
Thank
that's
you.
a typo.
That's
Yep.
These
Wow.
are, I think they're
Oh.
swapped.
And the
A
condos
is-
are
Building
A,
C.
yeah, the condos are A.
Condos are
We're talking
A
about number one.
Yeah, one
in both,
there.
actually, because number 2 also says building C for the condo, so they just need to be swapped.
This
Yep.
is C and
This
this
is
is.
C,
Yeah,
and that's C,
Good catch, Alex.
and then down in 2, that's A.
Right.
Correct.
Before we end this topic, which I think has been good, could I just pull rank as the planning board representative on the HAB and ask Cliff to put up his presentation? I just have one comment on the renderings that appeared early in his presentation.
Sure. Give me
Yeah,
one.
you can pull rank, for that, Steve, but remembering that, we're shooting for 7 o'clock adjournment.
Yeah, I will
We've
keep
got
it
another
brief.
major agenda item.
And I will say that just
There,
sorry,
okay.
I don't want to
So I
preempt you.
realize this is very early,
Yeah.
but I really hope you are not intending to do something in which all 3 of these buildings look almost identical with like a podium that looks like it's one material and then something above it. This, to me, is very monotonous, even in this
Yeah.
very early stage.
Yeah, so two responses to that. Yes, I agree. I think that is just kind of by the nature of kind of that zoomed out view. We that we are going to have some more variety. I think, we're seeing this as kind of having a more traditional material evoking the residential neighborhood to the west on the westernmost building that kind of shifts a little more modern and a little more commercial as it goes east. But then the other thing I'll say is that there has, between us developing this proposal and today, there has been a set of draft design guidelines from Sasaki that's going to be kind of part of it, part of the zoning package that will have recommendations and
And it will come
parameters
to the
around.
planning board. It's gonna come to the planning board, Steve, like any
Yeah,
other.
I know it will.
So
I just thought I would
so
make an
if you
early
have-
comment, because this is the first I've seen any images of anything like this, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are going to be we are in the process of looking at the design and exterior materials and stuff with that in mind and where that lands and we'll be advancing it and finalizing that more kind of in conjunction with that.
Okay. I look forward to that. Thank you.
So let's, Pam, are you still
Yep.
on board for making the motion? Do I
Yes.
have a second from someone?
sorry, did we need to make Jonathan's recommendation do we need to take out the 140 and make it total, 15% of total, or can we leave the 140 in there? In case the 140 changes later? Doesn't matter.
If it's up to me, I would appreciate a little bit of flexibility in case
Yeah, I don't
a
think it
unit
makes
gets
a
combined.
difference.
We're 15% of all the units on it would be my preference, just because
Sure.
those
That's a
design
good
there
way.
might be some adjustments to
Yeah.
step-ins and stuff from the design guidelines that might unfortunately might make the number go down more likely than go up, but
So let's remove of the word of and the word 140 total.
And then you also have to take out the
Oh, yeah.
24.
Oh, no,
Right.
yeah, no, of the total rental housing. Take the word of and the word the out, I think, right?
Yeah,
well, and it would be the
yeah,
And it comes again in C.
yep. And then you also
Great.
may want to take out the 21, the 2 references to
Exactly.
21.
yeah.
And in number 1, it doesn't make sense that, I mean, if we're saying 21 there, but later on,
Yeah, you have to just mark it as 15 somehow.
yeah,
We would just change the 21 to
to
15,
15%.
15%. Yeah, that's
Right.
right.
And you'll have to change C as well, 1C.
Right.
Yeah, it's a little bit of editing, but we get the gist.
And take.
What
yeah,
else are we
take-
changing?
One
And
C.
take out 140.
1C.
So
Okay.
it just says 15% of total bedrooms in these rental units.
Yeah.
Got it.
Cool.
Take out, yeah.
That look good?
Yep.
Great.
Should we put a condition on section 2 that says, you know, the general, you know, approach to this remains the same, you know, if there is a change in the number of condominium units? What if those numbers change?
It wasn't specified to begin with, was it?
Yeah, it's based on what, 120?
No, but here it just says 15% on-site condominium units.
There wouldn't be a conflict if it changed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you're saying the 10, you're
Yeah, that
saying
number could change.
2B, the number.
of-
Yeah.
I think that in this one, unlike the rental where we've made the right changes, that this one's a little different. And if the 126 unit change, that might ripple through the calculations.
Maybe I'm suggesting that, you know, we add an E that says, you know, similar methodology, should the number of units in the condominium portion of the project change, a similar methodology will be applied to determine a revised payment.
It's
Jennifer?
there are actually more variables than just the number of units involved, though.
Yeah.
Because, for example, you could have 126 units, smaller square footage, and you know a total that would ripple through the calculation differently because there'd be a fewer number of square feet, for example. So I think Roger is correct that if there's any substantial change in the program, then this is going to have to be re-examined.
You know, I think I agree, and I'm not sure that we have to write wording in here that says that. To me, that's almost self-evident.
All right, okay.
Yeah, I mean, and just, I guess from my perspective, you know, like I mentioned, there's going to be some design changes, there's going to be some tweaks. It's much, you know, as I'm sure you can imagine, these are much more likely to cause square footage to go down, if only slightly. You know, there's not really any opportunities for it to go up. Obviously, we're not going to be trying to come back if it's a few thousand square feet, and you know, we're interested in moving forward, not doing it. So it would require some kind of like very substantial change to the, you know, the dimensional things for it to kind of want to reopen the conversation. And similarly, like, you know, with this number, yeah, the unit count might go down because someone buys 2 units and combines them, in which case the dollar amount would still be the same. You know, there's not really a necessary reason to,
Right.
you know, redo. The dollar amount would just get, both of those payments would just happen at the same closing, you know. So there's other opportunities like that I think this language is flexible enough that allows for some of that. And then if something majorly changes, then certainly we can kind of come back and discuss if there's a different methodology.
Okay, and you're comfortable with a fixed cost, so for now, you've got one.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, just to be sure, this does not say, in this case, this does not have the 126 units here.
Yeah.
Right.
Doesn't
Right.
do-
But ultimately, that's okay because this number is also calculated based on square footage, not just number of units.
Right.
Right, and it also assumes that the zoning that we need for the latest iteration gets moved forward and is approved. So there's a lot of variables, but I think that if this goes forward and the zoning goes forward, and if there were substantive changes, we would need to not only come back to the HAB, but also modify the special permit, so.
So what do folks feel here? I mean, especially from the legal side, Jonathan, Jennifer, are we well advised to have an E, a 2E that says something extremely simple, that any significant change in the condominium component configuration as proposed may result in the need to recalculate the amount owed? Do we need something like that here?
I don't think we need it. It's a given. If we can't do it, if something changes in the design or the zoning as we proceed, we'd have to come back.
Okay. Jonathan, you're okay with
Yeah,
that?
I'm okay with that.
Okay, so let's have a vote. Is there a second? Let's go back to
Second.
the full screen. Who seconded?
Steve.
Steve. All those in favor, Pam,
Aye.
Alex,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Jonathan,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Bernard,
Aye.
Carol,
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
The chair votes yes. Did
I
I
think you
miss
forgot.
anybody?
Did you do Alex?
Alex.
You got me. I said yes.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
Yep, and thanks for your important catches on this. They're much appreciated, Alex.
Sure.
So we're good to go. Thanks for
Great.
everybody's participation and contribution.
Thank you
Thanks,
all.
Ron.
Have a good evening.
Yeah. Good luck.
Thank you all so much.
Bye-bye.
Have a
Thank
good night.
you.
Good night, folks. So we've got 15 minutes on the second agenda item, which you all are quite familiar with, I think, from discussions over many prior meetings. I think you've seen in your meeting packet a draft of a memorandum of understanding, non-binding, a bunch of whereases of the situational statement of things as they are and things as we are thinking are reasons to adopt a joint cooperative policy with the Community Preservation Act Committee. We have a committed meeting, which we expect will be the first of two meetings on December 15th, jointly, where this memorandum would be presented and discussed. I don't know, is there anybody here who hasn't had a chance to kind of read and absorb it? That we need to go through it on the screen?
Not for me.
Anybody want to talk about the, I mean, there's a lot of whereases, but the critical part is in the very short list of proposed means of operations or policy on this, and one of them, the critical one, is that I guess two critical ones. One, we're looking for a policy of a regular rules-based or prescribed, not rules-based, but prescribed contributions from the CPA fund of community housing through the trust, as we were hoping to do on Walnut High Phase 1, but we weren't able to. We're not calling it annual because it may or may not be. It would be triggered in a similar way that our free cash has been for many years previously, that it would be expected as a contribution anytime when our unencumbered existing available balance in the trust, and I put a number of 10 million in there. It's a round number. The equivalent from like 20 years ago was 5 million on the free cash formula, that we would like to have a policy adopted that up to a third, well, not less than a third actually, of the prior year's income to the CPA fund would be allocated to the extent that we were less than the $10 million threshold. And the other critical thing is we're not looking for an understanding on all CPA housing money, but just that portion that involves major development projects of the creation of new housing that involve the kind of complexity that the HAB is accustomed to vetting and dealing with, and that's just the one lane that we're looking for to be dealt with here. I have if there's no pressing need to actually see the proposed MOU, I do have a very much briefer verbiage of a vote that I would like to have you all see and consider whether you want to adopt. Bernard?
Yes. I know this is a little touchy, but what type of interaction with CPA have you had with this MOU draft?
None. We have an understanding that we're going to be coming with a proposal. We've got about 2 weeks to go there. At one point, we were going to be doing that joint meeting on the 1st of December, the day before yesterday, but this is an opportunity for the HAB, I think, as a first step to have thought about this and decide if they want to support this step. There will be an opportunity to have those discussions with the chair, with the full committee in advance, and then during that meeting where we are not going to be looking for a vote, but just a discussion, and then even further discussion afterwards if needed, and finally a follow-up vote in a meeting of theirs in January.
So, Roger, this MOU will be part of the package that's distributed to members of the CPA committee before that meeting, correct?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
So they will have a chance to see that.
Bernard, my thinking on this was that there's ample time for the joint discussions to take place, but that it would be a good thing if HAB would be able to have this little window of time to consider not only the concept, but the specifics here of what we are wanting to propose to them. I don't think I would have wanted to have this a joint drafting effort as opposed to a presentation for a joint discussion.
Yeah, no, I agree. And matter of fact, I think I suggested that at some point.
You've been really supportive on this, Bernard. Very much appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, but we have to walk daintily.
Yeah, I mean, as my other hat, my planning board hat, I'm the HAB representative on the CPA committee, and there are 9. I'm one of 9 members, and I don't know what the reaction of the committee at large will be, but I'm hoping that a majority of the committee will go along with this idea. That's I think what we're trying to accomplish, that we would hope to get a vote of the committee. I'm not so sure the chair of the committee, from what I've heard, I don't know, how agreeable she will be, to be honest, but she's only one of 9 members. So that's why I think this is worth doing in this way.
Yeah, I think there's been some growing impression, and I know Bernard has shared some of this, that absent some successful effort to make this the housing part of CPA for projects the equivalent of the state's one-stop shopping, that there's almost a counter vision here of having a two-stop, separate, if not even competitive, source of funding for affordable housing in town, and that's the main concern I think that some of us have. For other HAB members, the most of the discussion leading up to the creation of this draft, and that's all it is, non-binding draft, has involved, of course, Steve as our rep to the committee, Sue Cohen, the other housing person on the CPAC representing the Housing Authority, and Jonathan have all been very helpful on this. So can we put up the vote for that, Emily? So shorter, hopefully more accurate than the longer one we just had up here, and you can make it easier to read. Carol, is your did I miss your?
I actually have a
Yes.
question.
Sure.
I'm completely supportive of this. But I'm probably not sort of creatively enough minded, but what are the kind of housing projects that might go to the community preservation, to CPA, that wouldn't be our kind of projects? What does that family of projects even look like?
Well, it's beyond projects. Well, first of all, it could include smaller applications.
Roof repairs.
Say again, Bernard?
Roof repairs.
Yeah. Anything. I mean, there's a narrow window there because the CPA rules are restrictive on physical work that can be done on buildings, but there's a whole range of other things. The one that we're most familiar with is emergency rental assistance, any kind of social service, housing support, that doesn't involve bricks and mortar. The legal eligibilities are quite broader than building and development.
For CPA, or I thought the
Oh.
CPA was more limited.
No.
No,
Oh, they
I'm
could-
misunderstanding that.
they,
Oh,
they
okay.
actually made a very substantial grant to BCDC for rental
Okay,
assistance, for
okay.
example.
I know we did. I didn't realize that was CPA
They
has
also did.
flexibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the
Okay.
Brookline Community Foundation, I think, did too.
That's been
Other-
answered, done. Good.
Rationale, I won't be real quick, is we have no basis for claiming any particular expertise, either personally or in the bylaw, on things that go beyond, the complexities of creating physical affordable housing. I'd love to have a
That's been
motion.
answered. I'm
So moved. So moved.
Jonathan's
Second.
moving. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we'll go back to the full screen and I'll call the roll, and we might even make it on time. Well, we have quick updates. All those in favor, Pam,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Michael, Mike,
Yes.
Jonathan,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Carol,
yes.
Bernard,
Yes.
Sean,
Yeah.
and the chair votes yes. I don't think I missed anybody, and thank you very much to take us to the next step. We have real quick updates. Comp plan, anything, Carol? Nope, that's even really quick. The SHI, the housing inventory. Emily, did you have?
Yeah, I posted, they just ran it for us. We're above 10%. So that's good. And it should have been in your meeting package. You can see all the projects that are on the SHI.
10.76?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and this is not a shaky one. This is more firm than we've been above previously, right?
Yeah, some of them are off just because they haven't gotten to the next step. So they should get back on as well.
Any questions about that?
Well, yeah, I think Hammond Heath and Sheaf will come off if they don't get the building permit, but then Marion Street will get 115 and compensate for that.
By the way, Marion Street looks very good.
It's looking really good. Yeah, Mike.
When's that due to be?
End of March, beginning of April. Well, we had some problems with our Eversource, unfortunately.
So what else is new?
What else?
Never source, I call them.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have to go back and take some current photos of that because as Jonathan especially knows, we need to update our affordable housing orientation and tutorial before it goes into prime time. So resources, Emily?
To be short, we have gotten the funding from the town from free cash. I think it was 1.5 million. So that has been added.
I thought it was a little over 1.6 million, no?
You may be right. I'm not looking at it right this second, but
1.6 and change.
it has hit our balance.
Anything else on that?
Well, I'll just say, because I pass them a lot, that the 153 St. Paul, the construction is going great guns. It's, now up to, it's almost its full 5 stories, and 80 Vernon, and both of those are going to make significant payments when they start. It's still going to be a year or so, but when they get to the sales, but they're finally both really moving out of the ground, and that's nice to see. We're going to get
And
nice
when-
payments.
and
Nice
once
payments
we
from
get-
both of them.
Once we get squared away, that St. Paul is going to really pay us, but they will have to one way or another.
Yeah, they don't have a choice.
So 2 quick things. I wanted to, Alex, welcome you and announce that I'm very happy that you've accepted the 1-year assignment to be the HAB's representative on the town's CDBG committee. And you've had some experience with that before.
Yep. Did
Yep. So,
22, 23, and 24.
So you're going to have a return year there. So thank you for that. And we have a request for a volunteer. Bernard, this is a volunteer for the next lottery. How did yours go, by the way? You volunteered last time for one.
Yeah, it was not as dramatic as I thought it would be.
Did you
I
get
was
to
looking for something really exciting, you know.
Did you get to make any remarks?
I made a couple of remarks. This was before my vacation, so I'm trying to catch up and remember what happened beforehand.
Well, Emily, I know it's a noon date. Is it a week from Thursday? When is?
I have to look it up real quick. So
Yeah,
I don't know. the
yeah,
top
I
of
think
my
it's the 11th. I think I might have even.
head. Let me see.
Yeah, Thursday, the 11th at noon. Is there any HAB member who's here that would like to do that gig and have the experience? Now that you've heard from Bernard?
I mean, it's something that is informative in terms of the process that we go through to get people into affordable units.
How
And
much time did it take you, Bernard?
About 15 minutes.
yeah, it's very, I mean, I've done it a few times. It's very short.
Anybody who's not done it that would like to do it, only committing 15 minutes of your time?
I am interested.
Sean,
Yes,
are you volunteering?
I am.
Okay, good. It's by Zoom, and you can follow up with Emily and Linda. Linda Hickey is the one who's actually doing the administration of it, Emily?
Yes, correct.
Sounds good.
Is there specific information I should know?
I didn't know anything.
Yeah, me neither.
So that's
Know a little bit more
Yeah.
of everything. So
I mean, yeah, I didn't know anything when I went in. And, you know, all I said was, you know, talked about the importance of, you know, this lottery in terms of getting people into affordable units and, you know, stuff like that.
But the truth is, you don't really even have to say anything.
Yeah, but, you know, I'm
Oh, no, you
supposedly
have to,
important
but I'm
enough
saying,
to.
right.
Yeah, it's good to do a brief introduction, and
Yeah.
Sean, you and I can talk a little bit about it, and either Emily or Linda can brief you, because basically you're in the arms of the staff, and they will handle it very well. So it's mainly first of all to be visibly having more than one person, you know, overseeing the thing. There's a lot of resources involved, and it's a critical process to be fully transparent, and that's one way we've done it for many years. Any other business?
I have one, to answer Carol's ADU question. Building said they have 4 building permit applications and 3 in conversation, no application yet. 3 out of the 4 building permit applications are waiting to go to ZBA. And Maria said that she gets someone asking questions about ADUs. I think she said like once every few weeks, 1 or 2 every few weeks. So people are curious, I think.
Wait,
So
they're going to the
Carol?
ZBA, but I
Carol?
thought they were by right.
Wait, sorry.
Did you say these applications
Excuse
are
me,
going
I
to
have
go
to
to the
jump
ZBA?
off. I have to make another phone call, so.
Thanks, Bernard.
Thanks,
Bye.
Bernard.
Next
Bye-bye.
time.
So is it possible to start keeping track of these, like in some by typology or location? Like, I mean, sort of to me, the big split is, are you adding a separate building on a lot, or you're working it within an existing structure, and is that within the existing main structure, or, you know, or an existing outbuilding? Could we even just track some basic stuff like that? How would that be adding a burden to you guys to try and do that?
I'll have to look into it. So when people submit applications, they put into Excella, and Acela tracks all that, but we currently in Acela do not have a lot of granular data, just kind of what people put in the description. So there are quite a number of things that we would like to track that are not being tracked right now. But I can look into it with building and talk to them.
Yeah,
That
or
would be
even
good.
just like an ADU, like print out the application. So it feels like it's just so informative, like what people are actually trying to do, so that we can actually help what people are really trying to do, as
Right.
opposed to something that's the theoretical thing that we think people want to do, right?
For the ADU committee, or
No, I
Yeah,
think just
for-
to
for
know
both
what
the-
people are actually doing.
Right, yeah, for both the ADU
Yeah.
committee and for thinking about future, there's some discussion about potentially helping people with funding, right? I mean, if this is gonna be a genuine opportunity to create housing, I think understanding how people are going to, wanting to do it is just informative to help us understand how we can support it.
I think your direction and prodding on this, Carol, is really right on and appreciated. And I think, from the point of view of the committee and the HAB, it seems to me, and if I'm overstepping here, someone will tell me,
No.
that if the volume is, 3 or 4 or 6 or 8 or 10, keeping track of that by hand and having, some, reporting when those come in about, some basics about each one and classifying them so we can understand it is not a big ask. So I think that's kind of a fair request to the planning department and the building commissioner to be able to give us that data
Yeah.
so that as we think about policy, we actually know what's going on. Because I've had trouble getting that
Yeah, maybe we
information.
could even just tell them the 5, 6, whatever number of things we're interested in.
Yep.
You know,
Or get
neighborhood.
us a copy of if the permit,
Right.
can we just get a copy of the permit and let us, whatever is the easiest way to get it, I think it just is hugely helpful.
Well,
So
so there are two categories though. The
Right.
categories of what are the actual applications? And then there's the category, what are the inquiries that are
Right.
coming
Yeah.
into Maria?
Yeah.
And, if we could get a little, I know that, Maria's doing a zillion things, but if we could get a little more
Yeah.
than just kind of anecdotal, I get a few a week, one every couple of weeks of what they are and what people are doing, that could be helpful.
But would also be helpful because then we could do a little like info sheet, commonly, if it turns out the same 5 questions keep getting asked, we
Right.
could have a little sheet.
That
Because
second
I-
category,
Right.
Judd, you just mentioned is probably equally important. It takes quite a threshold of investment of time and effort to put through that full Acela sheet. So,
the city of Boston, Jonathan flagged this for us, had put together an amazing, huge piece of work to help people do this, but I don't think it's helping anybody.
Now, there was an article in the Globe today about how Massachusetts is way behind other states.
Right.
Just-
And, it's sort of like, yeah, I'm sure that's, you could put together this great book, but it's going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars and it's not doing anything,
Exactly.
right? So,
Okay, I gotta go
Anyway,
too.
done.
It's 7:30.
okay, we're adjourned now. Thank you very much. Good.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone.
Not at all.
Good night, folks.